She was alone, a solo traveler, undistracted and with the kind of tranquility that she alone can possess. Gazing at her lone incredible beauty, I wondered why it took me over half a century of my life to visit her. She was such a profound being that in her presence, self-reflections happen naturally, I suppose. At least that is how it was for me. Because in no time of being in her presence, she knocked on to me certain revelations about my own self. How? In the pretext of being duty conscious, in the pretext of going through the business of living, I had been very unforgiving of my urge for occasional getaways. In the pretext of fitting myself in with the society, I perhaps had not listened to myself enough. So I realized I did not visit her earlier because I had not created the space to seek her or other such beautiful beings like her. But then I was in her presence, her empowering presence. She was at bliss in her state of solitude, unabashedly alone, with no fear of being judged or misjudged by any external force. And that blissful persona of hers seemed to send out to me a powerful message that being alone is not isolation. Being alone is solitude, a state where one gets into a sacred conversation with oneself. When a message of that profoundness came from such a sacred being, the urge to experience that solitude became intense in me. Also intense was the urge to feel and embrace her, she, the bearer of that wisdom, she, the divine, the silent teacher, she who simply flows quietly and gracefully, she who is called the Ganga. To me, Ganga was not merely a river. In her, I saw the reflection of a forgotten version of myself. With that irresistible urge, I immersed myself in her, an immersion into her and into my own self. Standing in the wetness of my clothes and in the wetness of my eyes, I do not know how much of cleansing I had or how much of spiritual elevation I had experienced. But I certainly do know that a lot of my vanity, a lot of my ostentatiousness got immersed as well. I could see them fleeing me, and to let them go was an inexplicable feeling. I stood there as a part of the crowd, yet experienced a beautiful retreat from the noise outside. I also realized the usual compulsion of wanting to fit myself in the crowd slowly fade. Still waist deep in her waters, Ganga opened up more doors of revelation. It was just that morning, on one of her ghats, I had witnessed something unique, something that could change one's perception of life, one's perception of attachments that one holds in life. It was the Manikarnika Ghat, popularly called the burning ghat. Yes, the ghat was quite literally burning. Considered to be the holiest cremation ground among the Hindus, the burning pyres and the waiting corpses are a constant sight there, a strong, stark reality of one's mortality. And when that powerful thought hits you,
there's every possibility of wanting to pause and reevaluate your priorities and actions. That reevaluation happened to me in her holy waters. The soul-searching experience did not stop there. The journey inward continued. And a month later, I was fortunate to get this beautiful opportunity to go on a 10-day spiritual retreat at an ashram. During my stay there, with no gadgets, no mobile, just involvement in seva in its purest form, my primary companion was my solitude. And what a companion she was. I realized focusing inward was indeed a rejuvenating experience. Days of reflection and connection with the self led to greater self-awareness. And with that personal experience, I say to all, irrespective of age, gender, person, profile, whatever, make solitude happen. It could be a bit of work until you learn to make it a pleasant experience, but when it happens, you will have a lovely relationship with yourself. Many find solitude scary and uncomfortable, but when you fear finding yourself alone, you may end up not finding yourself at all. That is why perhaps many wise men put it this way: if you don't enjoy your own company, that means you are in bad company. Solitude is not about withdrawing from life or life's responsibilities. It is just about returning to your own self. When you take that journey inward, you tend to seek more of what aligns with your core belief and start relying less on external validation. Solitude allows for that introspection and a greater sense of self-worth. Self-worth, a paradoxical expression for people of my generation. Back then, musing over self-worth was never the expected line of thinking. It was always about roles and never about reflections. I played my role, my checkbox got ticked. Whenever I reflected on my roles, my checkbox met with frowns. For those of us born in the 1960s, 1970s, or early 80s, as a child, our whole existence depended upon others' acceptance of us. The constant nudge to do what the majority did made our perception of our own selves blurry. We were caught in a quagmire. Do what the majority did and be validated, or face a seemingly existential crisis. So to those men and women of my generation who had endured that phase, I would say, we are now thriving individuals. We have come a long way from that state of being powerless children. We now know our strengths and shortcomings. So shouldn't we let go of those old survival mechanisms and live a more conscious and a self-loving life? Self-love. Do not be guilty about loving yourself. Self-love is not the same as selfishness. Self-love does not mean standing on a pedestal and claiming self-importance, nor is it about prioritizing yourself at the expense of others. It is just about giving yourself that time and space to nurture your needs, so as to develop the courage to draw healthy boundaries. These boundaries are essential to guard your emotional and mental space. These boundaries are not walls, they are sacred lines. And drawing them teaches you to say no wherever necessary without the feeling of guilt. Saying no is not to turn people away or turn things away, but to honor the yes that dwells within you. So self-love is about valuing yourself enough to prioritize your inner peace. Also, to all the young boys and girls out here, I strongly recommend embrace solitude once in a while. In today's hyper-connected world, it is essential to be comfortable with one's solitude. It makes you sharper and more self-aware. It helps you stop chasing those likes and be less desperate for internet applause. The constant chase for likes and approvals could blur your true sense of self, because when you're constantly plugged in, you could easily lose track of your real values and interests. Stop measuring your worth through those likes and fire emojis. Invest time in yourself with no filters. Or try one of these: journaling. Just vent, plan, propose, dream, rant, do whatever, but write like you're talking to someone. Take a walk. Trees and plants don't judge. Just step out and feel the outside. Read and refresh. Read a book that challenges your thinking and see how it helps you grow. Sit through silent staring sessions once in a while. Just sit, breathe, and feel your existence. It is much deeper than it sounds. Solitude is not some sad, lonely exile. Solitude, that's not where you are lost. That is where you find yourself. So if embraced mindfully, solitude can become a great source of creativity, a great source of clarity and inner peace. Ganga helped me tune into my inner self, not through her noise, but her calmness. Her silence was much louder than any applause I have ever chased. Ganga was alone, but not lonely. She was rooted in her presence. And standing beside her, I felt for the first time in a long time that I found mine. Ganga's solitude was her power, her stillness and awareness. She reaffirmed to me that you don't necessarily need a crowd to feel complete. You don't necessarily need an applause to feel alive. Sometimes all that you need is to just sit still and listen to yourself. So, dare to spend time alone once in a while. Dare to sit still once in a while, not to escape the world, but to meet the best version of yourself. Go meet your Ganga. No, you don't have to book a ticket. Just book time with yourself.